You're watching ChillyBoy Productions. I'm Larry ChillyBoy Chilson, and today we are back to rank all of the characters from season 5 of Game of Thrones. And as always, for all the Game of Thrones reactions, as well as these live character rankings, I'm joined by my co-host Tyler. Hey, Tyler.
Hello, season 5, probably the most depressing season so far. And I think maybe because of the mood set in by that season, why is I'm not as enthused to rank these characters just because it was just such a overwhelmingly dark season compared to the others. Not that Game of Thrones in general is a very lighthearted show in general, but just the overall tone and vibe of season 5 was just very dreary. So it's hard for me to, I guess, exude excitement to for these characters, especially with some of the stuff we go in the storylines.
I'm excited once we get through the show. It'll be a much shorter list, but I'm excited to do a season ranking with you, Tyler.
No.
Get your ranking of all 8 seasons once we're done with the show. But 8 is a lot less than the 51 characters we have here today. I also have a little spoiler alert for Tyler too. I have a little game I want to play with you after season 6.
After season 6, okay.
After season 6, it's not at the end. It's after season 6.
I thought you were gonna. I thought you were gonna throw a quiz on me on the spot right now.
No,
It's like,
no.
I am not prepared for this. I was not aware.
But as I said, we've got 51 characters here on the list. The very loose criteria. They had to appear at least twice in the season in at least 2 separate episodes and have some sort of like actual change on the plot. They had to do something.
I mean, some of these I would argue shouldn't be on here with that criteria, but
and they have to be human. Otherwise, my boy Drogon would have definitely been on the ranking because
Drogon goes.
He made several appearances and he definitely altered the plot. Ghost as well saved some folks this season.
1-1.
Though I'm like, I don't even know if Ghost appeared twice though. Poor Ghost.
I don't think he did. I think his one appearance was when he saved Sam.
Yeah, so poor Ghost might not have qualified regardless. He barely. They were like, "Nah, we ain't got the budget for all that fur in season 5."
Yeah, or the other 2 dragons. They were just locked up all season.
Yeah, no, they definitely don't appear. So, oh, Leo, we're happy to have you in the chat, though.
You do.
All right, so let's kick things off at number 51. He ranked number 51 for both of us. It is Ramsay Bolton. Tyler, why is he still the worst?
I mean, I don't feel like this is one I don't need to explain. It's kind of like in the same vein in the last couple seasons when Joffrey was alive. Like, I feel like that's like a general consensus. Like, of course, he's the worst character. Yeah. I mean, he's a very vile, despicable person doing very vile, despicable things pretty much in every episode. Whether it be towards Sansa, he sexually assaulted Sansa in one of the most depressing parts of the entire season. And just the ruthlessness and evil candor he has towards everyone. I don't feel like you could have him. I'm reading the comment, that's why I laughed. I feel like you can't have him anywhere but the last place. Like, yeah. I don't think there's anyone that does anything arguably worse than Ramsay Bolton in season 5.
Yeah, no, this season, I think he may have gotten even worse. It's so hard to determine, but he just took it to new levels on characters we really liked or didn't want to see get hurt again, and he had nothing good. He even made his father look good. As his father described raping a woman, you're still like, well, at least you're not Ramsay. So when you can make Roose Bolton seem better, you are an absolutely dreadful person.
only by a small margin, but the Boltons in general have been pretty terrible so far.
Spoiler alert, we'll be circling back to Roose not too far from now. But, all right, at number 50, another one we both agreed on. Here we have our first dead character on the list, Sir Marin Trant.
Oh
Got
man.
brutally and justifiably murdered in the season finale.
Yeah, it's interesting because he wasn't on screen most of the season. He just came in like a wrecking ball and just did a dozen terrible things in a short period of time.
Yeah, he's been pretty terrible throughout the series, but this is actually the first time I've included him on a ranking, because now he's dead, and he
He's in a
doesn't. He
couple
evolves.
episodes.
He evolves Arya's character. Whether we'll see if
A
that's for the
little,
better or for the
yeah.
worst, we'll see. But he has a pretty big role to play for Arya. Another person off her list, and the first one she's really killed herself. Hi Emma, thanks for stopping in. Yeah, he's wretched. We saw him getting child prostitutes and using them to beat them.
I was gonna say he wasn't. It was like weird. I mean, it was weird on multiple folds because it was child prostitutes, but he was beating them. So it was just a very bizarre situation, which made it more justifiable and satisfying when Arya decided to murder him ruthlessly. I mean, to be fair, I mean that's probably one of the most disgustingly violent deaths of Game of Thrones so far, just because of all of that Arya did and just like you saw all of it. But it was justified at least. I mean, in the moment.
It's one of those. A lot of characters skirt that line, which is why I think some of y'all in these comments unjustly come for Daenerys and some of her decisions, because a lot of characters really skirt a line, including Arya right there, of this dude probably should not be around other humans, probably shouldn't be on Earth anymore. But then she brutally murders him in one of the most gruesome things we've seen on the show. So,
Yeah,
you know,
it's at least top
missed.
5.
You won't be
No.
missed, Marin Trant. Peace out. Glad you were only in like 2 episodes this season and gone.
I've already moved on.
All right. We have our first tie. Tyler's favorite things on these rankings are ties here.
Whoop-de-doo. Gets everything over with quickly, at least, I guess, right?
Yes. At number 48, we'll start the tie off with the lesser character, and that is Miranda. And that is Ramsay Bolton's side chick, Miss Hips, spiky, bony, sharp hip, as we knew her by.
Yeah, that was her memorable trait, I guess you could say, besides her ruthless candor.
So amongst all these characters, how did Miranda fall so low, Tyler?
I feel like part of it definitely is association with Ramsey, just because if you're in that inner circle with Ramsey, you're always going to be probably one of the least favorite characters around. But I mean, she was also kind of in the same vein as Ramsey. She wasn't a very friendly character. She was very terrible to Sansa, much like Ramsey, and she's just not a likable person. She just has that same evil demeanor and not likable in any sense. And I guess that's part of what made her her death more satisfying. Also because her death was just kind of funny because of the way she just splatted on the ground.
Very abrupt.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Yeah, no, she was terrible. We had seen her in earlier seasons as well. She also was not included before because she really just kind of popped up and didn't do much. This season, we really saw her kind of step into her nastiness. She reveled in torturing Sansa.
That's what I mean.
Right down to the bitter end, she was ready to start flaying Sansa up and got her ass thrown off the ledge. But she also served a very good purpose because, yes, mostly probably because of Sansa, but in that exact moment, because of what Miranda was doing, we have Theon Greyjoy back. So he was able to snap out of it.
Yeah, that was one of the more satisfying moments with Theon in recent seasons because he has been kind of like a wishy-washy kind of character the last couple seasons because he's not been so likable.
Yeah. Oh, Emma, you might be real sad where Brienne pops up on the ranking. No. If you holding a grudge against Miss Brienne, you may be a little bit sad because she up there in the rank. But all right, tied with number 48. Jealous of Sansa, right? Oh, yeah, yes, L'Oreal, that is the person, the one that was jealous of Sansa. And hi, thank you for stopping in.
Yeah, that definitely does factor in. There's definitely that jealousy, even though she was getting with Ramsey.
Yeah,
So it's
but
kind
she
of an
wanted
interesting
him.
parallel.
She wanted to be the woman, but
She was, well, yeah, because she was. I mean, it's more of like a power thing.
yeah.
Sansa actually has like royal attachment, whereas Miranda doesn't.
So maybe shocking, probably not. I feel like to sane people who watch the show and don't compare it to the books specifically. Also tied at number 48, we have Stannis Baratheon, our third dead character in a row. Miranda, Marin
Let's
Trant,
keep
and
it
now
going.
Stannis, number 48. Why is Stannis all the way down here with these other folks, Tyler?
I think he would have been much higher, not like super high, not like a top 10, 15 character, but I think he would have probably been a little bit higher in the ranking if he didn't murder his or cause the murder, I guess, of his daughter, because he didn't, I guess, technically do it, but like he's the one who orchestrated murdering Shireen in hopes that it would help his army and all that defeat the Boltons and all that. That's just like a very despicable thing to do in the sake of trying to gain the throne. I mean, that's kind of been his whole mo the whole entire series, though, is like he'll just burn anybody, do whatever Melisandre says in hopes that it'll actually end up with him on the throne by the very end. There were moments throughout the seasons where I thought he was like fine. He's just a very cold character, very one note, stoic kind of. He's not like a character that you overly hate, but yeah, I think that was probably what pushed me over the edge was his murder of his daughter, and I guess also in part also his wife killed herself. So I mean, he was kind of a dark omen around him. But I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on Stannis as a character, but just like in the moment when I thought about it more, especially with this season, I think his methods weren't the greatest, I guess, without elaborating too much further.
Yeah, Stannis. Again, if you've watched our reactions, we've never been like big Stannis fans here. But we went into this war obviously rooting for him, hoping he would be
Initially, yeah.
able to take the Boltons down. And that all went very, very south. I mean, his character just turned into stubborn to a fault. Like he's always been stubborn, but just not listening to reason at all. Davos tried to like warn him and tell him like over and over, and he just wouldn't listen. And then uh, to burn your own daughter. I mean, it was just such a despicable act that there's no
Yeah.
coming back from it. Like there's just
No.
he had to die, otherwise you. I don't know how you redeem a character after they do that. So his character would have been a villainous looking person from there on out if he didn't die.
Yeah. I mean, it was a satisfying death, though. I mean, I
Yes.
was rooting for it just because Brienne got to do it and get her justice for Renly after many seasons of waiting.
And that's it. He's this just person. He was supposed to be about like upholding all these laws and by the books, and he's kicks off his arc almost with murdering his own brother and a black magic. I don't know. He's done a lot of questionable things in that type of regard throughout the series, and then to do this was like, oh man, no, we don't want to see you on the throne either.
Even most of his men, and I guess Melisandre and all them, they felt the same way because that seemed to be the breaking point. Because he burned his daughter at the stake, and then half his camp left. Melisandre left him, and then he got completely eviscerated in that battle with the Boltons, and then got murdered by Brienne. But I mean, it was kind of interesting how no matter what he did these last couple seasons, it ended in him just completely failing in the end. So it just seems kind of like a moot point for him after all the bullshit we've seen him go through these last couple of seasons. It ends up failing regardless. So it was interesting from start to finish, the whole Stannis Baratheon arc, I guess, because I figured that's the end point, him getting his head cut off or whatever. It was interesting. It was one of the better storylines, probably. Not my favorite by any means, but it had its interesting ups and downs.
Whew, yeah. Also, I do love this that his story arc, at least at the end of season 5 here, Game of Thrones is still really centered on like action and then consequence. So I do like that his demise came at his own actions. Him doing that, led to his direct result in his storyline. By him doing that, it was like, nope, your actions have consequences, brah, and none of these people here are about that life. Like,
yeah.
He's not really. I know a lot of people think he's so much better in the books. I'm almost to the very end of the 5th book now. I don't think he's that much interesting. Davos is by far the best part of his storyline in the books as well. Even Melisandre, I think, as evidenced in our rankings even here, is a much more interesting character than he is. She has a lot more like going on and intrigue. I don't know. He's just not my type of character overall, but all right, moving along at number 47, we have another character who's still alive. We have Ollie.
Oh god. This kid.
Ollie wouldn't have been this low, I don't think, if he didn't do what he did in episode 10.
I would say, much like what my reasoning for Stannis getting so low. Generally, when you trick Jon Snow and then deliver the final killing shot, that'll definitely sink you in the character ranking.
Yeah, Ollie, like I said, part of it is that poor actor just has such a punchable little face.
He does.
Making that little mad face, you just want to punch him. So, and when he does that to Jon, you really just want to punch him.
Yeah, I mean, it's compounded because I also was kind of upset with him, because he also killed, Jon's woman also. So I was a little bit, I've already had mixed feelings about him. But at the same time, I understand why he's very hesitant to trust the wildlings, because they were, a big factor into his entire family being murdered. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of characters in Game of Thrones are meant to be kind of gray. Like, you kind of have to take the good with the bad. And it seems like he's kind of just anti everything wildling. All wildlings are bad. They killed my family, therefore they're all bad. And Jon Snow's trying to be friends with them. I don't know.
I think it's understandable. So throughout the season, I can understand his hesitance as Jon is making this plan. But Jon took him in. Like, Jon has been nothing but a really supportive figure to him, a really kind person to him. So I can understand being angry. And I get it. He's young. He's getting manipulated by some of these other older men. But it's like, come on, man. You little sneak ass brat. Look at the people. Ooh, the people are mad at Ollie, y'all.
Hey,
I did not like that Ollie.
I mean, I agree. That's why he's towards the bottom. I mean, how could you put someone that kills? Well, I should say, deliver the killing blow on Jon Snow. How could you not put him towards the bottom?
Ooh, that little Ollie. All right, well, moving along, we have another Night's Watch person, but one who is gone and dead, and that is Janus Slent. It was a bit of a turning point in Jon Snow's character arc, standing up to Janus Slent and killing him.
That was pretty shocking. I really thought that that was like one of the moments in the season I was actually shocked that Jon just straight up murdered him, like took him out.
Yeah, as he was begging for mercy. That's where Jon's character, that was one of Jon's more gray areas, I'd say, of the season. It was actually quite reminiscent of Robb.
His brother, yeah.
And actually both of them ended up dying at the end of the season. And his dad too. All three of them ended up dying after they chopped somebody's head off, who it was questionable if they should.
I mean, who's left? What, Bran, Arya, Sansa? Don't chop any heads off.
We'll see if Bran can chop a head. We'll see if Bran ever appears on the screen again. Arya killed that guy, and then she went blind. So this is true. She didn't chop a head off, so she just stabbed a lot. So only go blind. She didn't have to die.
That was still such a jarring moment in season 5.
But Janice Lent, I mean, he was terrible. I hated him even in season 2 with the way he behaved with Tyrion. I hated him then.
I was glad he got sent away. I thought we were never going to see him again.
And then, there he is.
Well, he was just so frustrating even in prior seasons, because like he couldn't believe his eyes because he saw like the giants and all that stuff, and it was like right in front of his face.
Yeah, no, he's an idiot.
And he went and hid, didn't he? He went and hid.
Yes, he went
during that battle.
He went with Gilly and the baby.
Yeah, what an admirable person.
All right, let's keep up with the North, people. At number 45, we have Sir Alicer Thorne. This bastard.
Yeah, he goes right in hand with the other Night's Watch people I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, I mean, we all know it was his idea. It was his ruse to kill Jon Snow. And part of it, so again, like with Ollie, I understand to an extent. He thinks what Jon is doing is just wrong. It's just the method at which he chose to express that by killing his Lord Commander. No.
Yeah, it's not the greatest method.
Plus, he's an asshole. Like, when Maester Aemon dies, he's sitting there just immediately starting to threaten Jon. I mean, not Jon, Samwell. Like, what the hell?
At his funeral, right?
At the funeral, you're going to start threatening Samwell for what?
Yeah.
No.
I've never liked him as a character. Like you said, he's always been kind of an asshole.
I will agree. He is a very good actor. I think he does a great job of being an asshole. For sure.
Yeah, some people, actors and actresses, they're just good at playing villains, and I think he is one of those. There's actually a lot of those in Game of Thrones, because even the guy that plays Ramsay, he's a pretty good villain.
The kid who played Joffrey, he got all them death threats. He had quit acting because of it, because I mean he was damn good at playing Joffrey.
I remember watching the guy that plays Ramsay because he was in Inhumans. Remember Inhumans? Yeah. Nobody really does. But he was in Inhumans. Yeah. The Marvel product they forget.
Yeah, no, it's Alicer. Great. Now I presume he'll be the de facto leader again. So that's great. Yeah. All right. Moving along. At number 44, we have our next Bolton, Mr. Roose Bolton.
Yeah.
Why is he down here at 44, Tyler?
I think part of it's because I've never forgiven him for killing Robb Stark. Some of it's probably just animosity that's just carried over through the seasons. I mean, all the Boltons are terrible, though. We learned more about his treacherous past and how Ramsay was, I guess, conceived, if you will. Not a great look. The Boltons in general are not very good people. I mean, that's why he has to be down here.
That story is like disgusting. Like, and it's just as bad in the books too. Like he does give the story of Ramsay's. He does it to Theon or Reek in the books rather than to Ramsay. But it's horrible. And the only redeeming thing for Roose is that he has Ramsay, and he's like the smarter one.
I guess
he's less brash. He's less like just do whatever the hell in that moment to torture, and he's not like bloodthirsty. He just is really selfish and an asshole.
Yeah, and he killed Robb. So
you've forgiven him, Emma. Do we have a Robb Stark hater? Lord. Oh wait, she forgot about the story of the rape. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's fun because this actor has been popping up in a lot of little fantasy things recently.
Yeah.
And he's typically over in Wheel of Time. He's actually a really nice character, but I just see Roose Bolton, and I'm like, nah.
It was bizarre, yeah.
I don't trust him. So,
yeah, because he was like one of the main. Was he like one of the main characters' dads, right?
Yeah.
Or adopted dads, whatever.
Yeah, adopted dad. But yeah. All right. At number 43, we have one of those people we talked about. We have Melisandre. Oh, Melisandre.
She looks good.
She looks great. But she's the one who convinced Stannis to burn his daughter.
Yeah, that definitely knocks you down a peg or two.
Yeah. I mean, it was her. So the thing I think with Melisandre too is I think she believes what she's saying. So unlike Stannis, that's the thing that differentiates them a little bit. I think Stannis more believes her or is able to be manipulated. I think she genuinely believes what she is saying. She knows what she can do. And I think she thought that was actually the solution.
I mean, that seems to be her method the last couple seasons. Just burn Stannis' relatives.
Yeah.
Or just have them killed, whether it be Renly or those other random people we saw earlier in the season.
Yo, Melisandre might have one of the highest body counts on the show.
I mean, it's got to be up there as far as like regular characters that aren't like in wars.
She
Yeah,
be killing people left and right.
messed
Damn.
up.
Arya girl, you got a lot of catching up to do if you want to get to Melisandre's level of murder.
Yeah, because when you think of like normal characters in the show who weren't like warriors in battles, like a Jon Snow or a Robb Stark, who actually like were on battlefields, like Melisandre probably has one of the higher body counts out of them, or
Yeah.
Tyrion, or Jorah. I'm just thinking of other characters who I've
Yeah.
seen murder people throughout the series.
She just is,
Joffrey.
I don't know. I think it's the interesting thing that keeps her like above Stannis himself for me. She's just a better written character. She's a more
Hmm.
interesting character. Seeing her art of self-preservation, being like,
She
peace
just
out, bro.
left. Just yeah, sorry, I just like helped you murder the rest of your family. I'm gonna go leave now.
She heard that them other men deserted, and the first moment she could, she's like, "Oh hell no, he gonna be after my ass. Let me get out."
I don't know though, because I'd argue like I mean, is she technically? Would you say she's arguably in a better position being with the Night's Watch? Like
I mean,
after they just killed Jon Snow, like
yeah, I mean, she looks shook though. I will say that I feel like we've seen her. She's always had this air of confidence. In that 10th episode, that whole veneer was shook. Like she did not. She looked a little bit broken herself.
hey,
So,
I mean, I can't blame her.
well, moving along, we have our next dead character at number 42. The kind of trio of burners. We have Selyse Baratheon.
Oh yeah,
Uh, I think her only saving grace was that at least she realized it at some point.
she had some regret at the very end after being like a horrible character up until then.
I mean, I think she's honestly as at fault as Melisandre at getting to that point. She was the one
Yeah,
who was like, "Oh no, we're bringing her. My daughter's coming with me," because Melisandre kind of was like, "Yeah, we need her to come along." She knew kind of what was going on, and she was down with it. Granted, until she heard her daughter scream out to her.
yeah, that makes sense.
And then she was like, wait a minute, holy shit, what am I doing? I'm actually burning my child alive. Hold on.
After she was like reveling in the other people being burnt earlier in the season.
Her brothers, her uncles, all them. She was literally getting off to that
Pretty much. It was weird.
Yeah, no, the wet the wet blanket Selyse deserves. I think there's just so many bad characters this season. So many people did terrible shit this season that her having that one moment of clarity helped put her above these other terrible people. Otherwise, if she just stood there next to Stannis, cold faced, yeah, she would have been much lower.
Yeah, I guess it's also kind of a tragic way to go out because of everything involved. You know, watching her daughter die, having that remorse to the point where she hangs herself afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so crazy to see that contrast with her and Stannis, who before this episode, he was the only one who ever showed any love to her other than obviously Davos.
Davos.
Bye, Selyse. You also will not be missed, ma'am.
Probably not.
All right, at number 41, we have Grand Maester Pycelle.
Oh, he's just kind of a meh character in general.
He didn't do anything this season.
Also, I mean, like, what I think I've said this kind of verbatim in different rankings over these seasons. Like, as long as you're not like completely awful, or like like you'll probably at least be a little bit higher than some of the worst people.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a gross old man. Like
I really dislike him in the early seasons, but season 5, I mean, he doesn't really do anything to warrant like hatred or anything. He's just kind of there. Throwing shade at Qyburn.
Yeah, I mean, that was funny.
I guess I do kind of like that Cersei just likes to rile him up. So seeing him get like riled up over nothing.
Well, I mean, like he's a character that's just kind of there. Like he's kind of like a annoying, crockety old man, but like he gets the bump up because he didn't like violently murder a bunch of people, like like a bunch of these other people that are below him.
He just keeps on faking being old and broken for 5 seasons now.
I do wonder if that facade is ever going to be, cracked, and we're going to finally see somebody prod him enough where he finally stops being this fake old man persona.
All right, at number 39, we have our next tithe for 39 and 40. We'll kick things off with a minor character tied here, and that is Hizdar, Daenerys' deceased fiance.
He sucked.
Bye.
I mean, he was just a terrible character through and through. I mean, it was just kind of weird how he kind of like fetishized opening up the pits so much to the point where like he was like having to try and hype up Daenerys and everybody to be like into these fighting pits and watching these people fight to the death in front of her. Yeah. I mean, it was just he was just a very obnoxious character. Like, I mean, there was nothing about him necessarily that was like awful. You know, like kind of like with Pycelle, like you get a notch up with some of these other people because you don't like brutally murder people or do anything overly despicable. But I mean, I didn't mourn his death. I wasn't like, oh no, he got murdered. It was just like, oh well.
I actually was kind of glad he died. I was like, we need to get rid of this man. I don't want Daenerys to marry him and like have to like be with this person and have him around. No, kill him. So, but I thought he was going to die differently because I thought he was conspiring against her. And no, he just turned out to be a dumb like former slave master. So great. All
Pretty
right.
much.
And then tied at number 39 is also Littlefinger. Another character. So he did do more in the first half of the season.
Yeah, he kind of just disappeared. He literally gave Sansa to Ramsay and just was almost never seen again.
Yeah, he went and started like twirling his little web with Cersei for a second, but we didn't see him for like the last half of the season almost.
Yeah, it was weird because like I mean he's a character I definitely have disliked since the very beginning because that was always the debates in the beginning, like who do we like more or less, Varys or Littlefinger, because they're kind of in some ways very similar characters in the way that they kind of weave their webs and stuff like that. I always preferred Varys. I think just Varys in general. I mean, they're both not great, I guess necessarily characters. Depending, I guess it depends on who you ask in the world if they're great characters or not. But I think Varys has a bit more theatrical qualities to him, and that makes him a bit more interesting. Just whenever he speaks to somebody, because Littlefinger, I mean, it's kind of similar, but I think Littlefinger is just a bit more nefarious in a lot of the ways that he tries and wheels and deals. I mean, obviously we've seen that with the way he dropped off Sansa to Ramsay. But just the fact that he wasn't like involved in a whole lot, especially in the latter half of the season, I guess he gets like a little bit of a bump just because like it was despicable the stuff he's done. I mean, just in general, just accumulative. So he can't be super high, but he can't be super low either because there were a lot of people in the season did a lot worse things than he did than just give Sansa to Ramsay, which is a very awful thing because especially what happened afterwards. But yeah,
I guess the jury's out on like. I mean, he obviously knows Roose Bolton specifically is a terrible person because he knows what happened at the Red Wedding and who all was a part of that. I guess we don't really know the extent of how much he's heard about Ramsay and all of that. Like, I know he's just so self-centered that it didn't matter who he was marrying Sansa to. It was just, he claims to love this girl and yet marries her to literally the worst person in the entire country.
Yeah, Sansa's not a really great track record with these marriages. Mostly.
Oh, now we see the real motives, Miss Emma, on why you like Littlefinger. Mr. Peter
Hey, I mean, I get it. I mean, he's not like, I mean, I don't really find him that attractive. I mean, but I think overall, in general, he's like a pretty good villain. I mean, he's kind of typecast as a villain in everything I ever see him in.
I will say, one thing I miss Littlefinger being around smart people. Because that's really when he was the most fun, when he was like battling Varys specifically. But when he got to like have these little battle of the wits with people, that's where Littlefinger shined most. And recently he's just kind of been bouncing around with Sansa. And I don't want to say Sansa's dumb, but she's not a witty character. she doesn't jab and bar with people, you know.
No, she has her moments where she'll get some digs in here and there, which is satisfying, but not to that level of like a Varys versus Littlefinger, or even Olenna versus Littlefinger this season. That was probably one of the better ones.
Yeah, see, that's when he was fun. Except Olenna kind of ate his ass up, but
yeah, pretty much.
All right, and for this comment, that's what I thought. L'Oreal was. I thought his star was literally scheming, and that's where he was scheming. I don't know for sure. I mean, they
with
killed
the
him.
with the
I don't
Sons of the
know.
Harpy. So
Yeah,
you're
the
talking
Sons of
about?
the Harpy. Mm.
Yeah, does the we could have put that prostitute that gets like everybody murdered on the list, whatever their name is, if they
That
haven't.
woman, my God, we do have a prostitute out here. I know Tyler was shook when he saw that boy's name. He's like, "What the hell is he doing?"
He's it's just so bizarre seeing him be like, I guess bizarre in the context of like his one purpose in the show is just it's interesting that he's remained consistent
Yeah,
in the show for this long without
yeah.
not being like a central character to everything going on.
Yeah, Emma, I mean, I definitely agree. I told Tyler, Sansa does not go to Ramsey in the books. She is still up in the up in the Eyrie. Littlefinger has not sold her off. So it's not quite, it's just not the same there. But all right, at number 38, we have another kind of minor character of the season. We have Lancel Lannister.
Oh
Uh
yeah,
our our revelation that
Sparrow.
he's a good Sparrow fanatic.
Well, I would argue good and sparrows necessarily aren't really paired together well, but yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Just a
No,
very interesting character, but not in a good way.
I mean, he ratted out Cersei, obviously. Um,
Now he's like, I guess, changed. Now he's like a changed man,
he's a
arguably.
changed. He also slept with his cousin too, and actually murdered the king. Hello, but I
I
mean, I
guess
guess
he
that's why
confessed,
he got
so
that carve into his head. So he's been through trial, I guess.
he got the shame treatment too, but just off screen.
He's just more bland now than he was even back then. So
Yeah,
Lancel
he
wasn't the
wasn't.
most interesting
No,
character to begin with.
out of the Lannisters, he's probably like the most boring.
All right. Well,
Or
next
if you
up at
count
number
Tommen, I guess. But like,
yeah. At number 37, we have the Waif. Good
oh
old
gosh,
jealous Waif.
I forgot that was even her name.
So it's not 100% confirmed, but the fandom basically refers to her as the Waif because that's kind of her counterpart in the books.
Right, because like I was like, because when you sent me the list a while back when I was ranking, I was like, who the hell is the waif? Like vanilla wafer? Like what? It's like I'm hungry now. We're talking about vanilla wafers.
I'll talk about my problem with Sansa's character arc when we get to her, Emma. I have some major problems. I ranted on it on Twitter recently. But
Yeah,
the Waif, so at first she seemed like she could have been an interesting character, and then she just went full jealous mode. She got
pretty much.
mad. She got jealous at Arya.
It just seemed kind of odd to have like while Arya's doing all this stuff, trying to learn about doing all the face stuff and talking to Jaqen Nagar or like whatever Jaqen Nagar is, the man of many faces, whatever the hell. It just seemed kind of weird to just give Arya this like rival character in her arc. It just felt like it was kind of weird to throw that in that she has like this rivalry in a
Yeah,
way with this person while she's trying to do all this stuff.
yeah. It's kind of boring, like Emma said. But
I agree.
she's starting to reveal her true colors. She ready to take Arya on at the end of this season.
I guess. I mean, I don't know how much fair of a
Lord.
fight it's going to be since Arya's blind, but I mean, whatever.
She did try to train her a little bit, I guess, and some of that stuff. But
They were like,
I hate that haircut that this girl has. So that's another thing that just bothers me with Waif. I'm like, girl, go bald or something. What is this weird little almost Dora hair? I don't know. Waif.
it reminded me of like Johnny Depp and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Lord. Come on now, Leo.
See, I told you.
All right. At number 36, we have the High Sparrow. So I think I had him actually a bit higher than you did for sure. Just because I find his character this season really interesting. He brings up
Jonathan
a lot of
Pryce.
interesting stuff. And Jonathan Pryce just has such a damn commanding presence that I'm like, well, damn.
I was surprised it was even him. So
yeah, this amazing actor. He just has such a presence, a grandeur to him. He just is such a contradiction of a human.
Yes.
as all of the sparrows are, preaching about all of these things. And at first, you think he's like about that life. He's out here like feeding homeless people and he like washes their feet and stuff. But then his methods and this control obviously proves otherwise. But
Yeah. I mean, I guess he's probably arguably the best of the Sparrows, just because, first of all, he's Jonathan Pryce. But I think he is the most interesting as the leader, just because the Sparrows kind of, I mean, they very much are like religious extremists,
yeah.
like to the most extreme. I mean, I thought it was kind of weird how they interjected that with everything. I mean, it's interesting because of how it ended up biting Cersei in the ass at the because Cersei's kind of the one that brought them in, and then we see how Cersei ends up by the end.
Okay.
So she really shot herself in the foot. But yeah, I've never been super into the Sparrows. They kind of come and go. It was like the penultimate episode when we saw Cersei, get shamed through the streets, and Hannah Waddingham was there. I mean, that was great. But I've never been too fond of the Sparrows. I mean, they're fine.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder how they're going to be taken out, just because they have so much power, and Tommen is just like locked away in his room, just not seeing them because he won't do anything. Because they basically took over. They threw Cersei in jail, they threw Marjorie in jail, they threw Loras in jail. Tommen's just up in his room, so it's like they're the ones running the show.
I mean, exactly. Cersei, she was running the show for Tommen, and then she introduced a group that threw her ass in jail and took over the leadership. Like,
you should have seen that coming, though, with Lancel being there. Like, Lancel probably spilled the beans, and also the fact that Cersei had multiple chances to confess to all of the terrible things that she did, and she didn't, and she just didn't, and then she had to pay the price.
Well, speaking of, at number 35, we have Tommen Baratheon.
Yay.
One of the most frustrating characters.
I think he's the least interesting of everyone in the show that's been the leader in Westeros.
Yeah, it's just
King's Landing. Sorry.
Like, the people below him are worse people. Like, they've all done worse things, every single one of them. He hasn't done anything outwardly bad. Like, he doesn't hurt people. He doesn't make decisions that are so terrible. He just does nothing.
He's just it's like what she said. He's just a very vanilla, bland character. He's definitely the worst leader out of the bunch. He's definitely the least assertive, and it's very clear he has no idea what he's doing. And I guess it goes to show you how much Charles Dance had influence over everyone, because now that he's gone, everyone else just doesn't know what they're doing. Even Cersei has struggled in his place trying to be a leader.
Yeah. I mean, she's made some pretty dumb decisions this season.
Yeah, so it kind of just goes to show you Charles Dance's
look. Tyrion ripped King's Landing open. The moment he killed his father, the King's Landing has been in complete and total disarray ever since. Because you know damn well, if Tywin Lannister was alive, them sparrows would never.
No, exactly.
Never would the Queen, Marjorie, ever get thrown in jail. Never would his own daughter ever get thrown into that jail.
Although it does make me kind of wish that he had lived. I mean, it was a great way he was killed by Tyrion, but I think that would have been awesome if we had seen some showdowns between Tywin and the High Sparrow. I think that would have probably been some.
Yeah, that was another fun little showdown with Olenna with the High Sparrow. Whenever you get those smart people showdowns, it's always a good time. But
Olenna is great. Yeah.
Another person who just has such a towering presence, Charles Dance, and King's Landing needs that kind of iron.
It's just Tywin. Like I said, Ty just shows you Tywin was really a great leader, even if he wasn't necessarily having the title, if you will.
Yeah, he was great. All right, well, at number 34, we have our resident male prostitute, Oliver.
He just always comes in and just wrecks things. That seems to be his one purpose in the show. He always just comes in, causes chaos, and then it's just never seen again.
Yeah, I mean, every time he sleeps with somebody, it's a mess.
I mean, the
I
only
guess
one, Oberyn. I mean, nothing changed, I guess, necessarily with Oberyn. It was just, but otherwise,
every
it's just.
time, damn it, Lancel, why are you so dumb? Every time you sleep with Oliver, it's a disaster for you. Like last time, it ruined Sansa getting to leave King's Landing and go to freaking Highgarden, and now she's married to Ramsay Bolton. Thanks. And you were supposed to marry Cersei, and now you're in jail. And your sister too. He actually is the reason her ass is in jail too, because she walked in on you two this season. So and your stupid Mark.
Oliver, man, I'm just surprised he's lasted this long for being such like a minor character. Yeah, usually those kind of like random minor characters like on the fringe of everything, you would think he would get taken out, but like he's consistently. Yeah. Well, yeah, kind of the same example.
Prostitute.
I guess, arguably.
All these other ones are treacherous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just surprised Oliver's alive. That's just kind of the thing for me, because especially with all of the drama that swirls around him, you would think somebody eventually would just take him out.
Also, why didn't the Sparrow snatch his ass up? He confessed to being gay too. I mean, I guess maybe because he brought somebody else to them, so they let him live.
He's like the bait, I guess, if you will. So yes, so they just use him to just continue to out people that are gay, so they can throw them in jail. I mean, that's the only way I can think of it. I mean, it's still wrong either way.
All right. Well, number 33, maybe the title for most disappointing. We actually have a trio.
We have
the Sand Snakes at number 33.
Boo. They were so disappointing.
I know you were so hyped, especially because your girl Jessica Henwick plays one of the Sand Snakes.
It's like that was why I was excited, because like, she's great. I mean, she's great now. Humble beginnings, I suppose. She didn't really do all that much. Neither did any of the other snakes, to be fair.
And we got like Oberyn and Ilaria, this really cool like couple in King's Landing in season 3. And so we were like hyped, ready for the Sand Snakes in season 5.
Just go to Dorne in general. Dorne in general was just a massive disappointment.
And then we get one of the worst lines in Game of Thrones with one of them little sand snakes.
What was that stupid line again? It was like something about
you want a bad girl, but you need the bad pussy.
Yeah, that was pretty cringe.
Probably the worst fight in Game of Thrones history, at least up to this point. A terrible fight.
I mean, of fights that I can remember, some of the worst ones, like that one's probably the worst. Like that one's bad. I think that upstarted the fight between the Hound and Brienne, because that was a fight that I remember because it was how bad it was. Because it was that fight. Well, it's kind of funny because the contrast for why they're so bad. Because like that fight was just chopped to all hell. Yeah. Like Brienne and the Hounds, because
it got better. At least like the second half, they let it chill for a little bit longer. This one, my God, we had this one. They were fighting in slow motion.
Yeah, the choreography was not great for their fight.
And the rest of their plot is playing patty cake in a jail cell.
The one was like obsessed with Bronn for some reason.
Yeah, no, they weren't even just useless. They were just kind of annoying. Like
they started out cool, because they had their fun little games. They were talking to each other, and then they threw that spear or whatever in that guy's head that was in the ground. And then that fight, like once that fight happened, that was kind of the beginning of the end for me.
Oh, we like Ilaria a little bit more over her, but all right. Well, coming in at number 32 is Qyburn, another character who disappeared for a good part of the season.
Well, I guess we saw why, right?
Yeah. So he starts the season off. They're trying to get dwarves, so they're bringing him dead dwarves and dwarf heads, and it worked. He resurrected the mountain.
It's a very odd way they explain how they brought him back. They just brought him back somehow, and like he can't speak because he took a vow of silence until all of Cersei's enemies are slain.
I mean, I guess he's like one of the last few people loyal to Cersei.
I guess. I mean, he does that. He seems like he doesn't have a choice, and just because Cersei has so many enemies, I figure he's probably never going to speak again.
So cool, Kyburn. We didn't get much of you this season.
Eccentric character. He's an interesting one because I wondered where the hell he was for most of the season because it's like he's supposed to be tinkering on the hound, not the hound, his brother, the mountain, wherever the hell the hound is. He's probably still laying on that rock, dying.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks for hopping in. All right, at number 31, we have Prince Doran of Dorne.
The spineless one.
The spineless one. I don't know. He's another one whose adaptation is really bad. He actually is a lot smarter and he's not going to war, but he's actually doing things in the book. He doesn't do anything in the series, like all of season 5. He's
just kind of there to just be kind of a mild foil for Ilaria, but not really.
Yeah, I mean, he just is there to antagonize the sand snakes and help.
I mean, he had some great. Well, I shouldn't say he did. Like Ilaria got some great burns in, thanks to him. So,
yeah, it's not much to say about Prince Doran, but okay, he's still the prince over in Dorne for now. All right, next up at number 30, we have Ed. Also didn't do too much this season.
Who? I'm kidding.
The last of John's Night Watch friends that is not Samwell.
I unfortunately know who he is. He's the one that lived out of the other one.
He's still there. He was actually a little bit hesitant with John's plan, but he still supported his friend.
He's fine. He's another character that was like around. Like he's just a character that John needs somebody to talk to at the Night's Watch, and he's around when it's not Samwell.
All right. Well, we're just motoring through this middle portion because the next one also didn't have too much to do this season. At number 29, we have Loras Tyrell.
Well, I mean, he literally spent most of the season locked up in jail, never to be seen again.
Poor Loras. He just wants to sleep with openly. Boys, damn it.
Just be openly with people he likes.
Let him live.
It's just like a weird thing in the show. Like that, like of all the treacherous things that go on in Game of Thrones, that's apparently too much for the people. They got to lock him away for it.
Yeah, so he got put on trial. Well, not really trial. He got accused and thrown.
It was not a trial. It was just like, oh, we assume we got we know all of ours telling the truth.
Yeah, you and your sister go to jail. Okay. But
Cersei,
you was wrong for coming for poor Loras so quick, girl. Immediately.
I miss those days when Loras was trying to befriend Cersei when they were going to get married, and Cersei was just dragging him every time they tried to speak.
Poor Loras. All right, well, at number 28, we have Reek, aka Theon. Presumably Theon at the end of season 5.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't want to be called that anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, unless Sansa keeps calling him Reek.
Just out of being petty,
Maybe Sansa's going to be like, look, bitch. I'm the captain now, Reek.
Yeah, I think part of why he got bumped up so much was because of the fact he finally turned back and helped Sansa and killed Miranda. Yeah. Wrong name. But yeah, that was like the only saving grace, if you will, because up until that point he was still pretty bad in the season. With that candle.
Doesn't mean Sansa's ass thrown up in jail, locked down.
Like he was not great up until that, but it was a good redeeming moment for him that hopefully he builds on, but you never know.
I mean, at the very least, we've had almost 3 long seasons of him being tortured by Ramsay. So it's okay. We can move on with Reek. Theon now. I think he's atoned, at least for the most part.
He admitted that he didn't actually kill her brothers. So.
Ooh, and that scene where he's made to watch that horrible assault. Oh, yeah, I do think Alfie Allen is great in the role.
We're just assuming that they live. They're not dead.
They're gonna be laying outside of Winterfell.
They just jumped off screen, and we don't know their fate. We just assume they lived where we just saw
that damn snow pile.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just throw it out there to be annoying. It's like, do we know if they live?
We
Because
gonna
we
see
just
it.
saw Theon just chuck Miranda, and she to her death from that same
Listen,
distance.
if that snow was deep enough that they live, I'm gonna need to see the tunnels because they gonna have to dig. Like that snow needs to be like a good at least couple feet. They're gonna have to be digging through the snow, making.
And they dove like legs first and everything.
Oh, Emma, now Emma. Let's not get crazy, Emma. He killed them 2 farm boys. And he knew they ass too. He knew those little farm boys and grew up with them. But it was still wrong.
It was. Yeah, I'm not forgiving him for still murdering people. Because he still murdered plenty of people back when he was in charge, when he betrayed the Starks. So
now he just has a lot less body parts because of it. Again,
yeah,
another person who directly had to pay consequence for his decisions. Yes, Rob paid a big consequence, but Theon is literally where he is right now because of what he did. Had he not betrayed Rob, he never would have been put into that position.
You think maybe Theon chucking Miranda off of the ledge was a bit of revenge for her part in the whole having his penis chopped off thing? Because she was one of those people that seduced him. So something like maybe there was a little bit personal, a little bit more personal to chuck her off the roof.
Yeah, we need to get rid of this girl. Ooh, I have not heard that theory. Wow. All right, number 27, another character that Tyler says doesn't do a damn thing.
Well, I know who this is now. We got
Miss Gilly at number 27.
I mean, what does she really? Well, I mean, obviously she serves.
Sam become a man.
She serves the plot solely for Samwell. Otherwise, I could take or leave her character. Like, she's a nice character. Like, I have no qualms with her as a character, but like, you could get rid of her and it would not change the entire show.
So. Yeah, she definitely helps Sam's character progression a lot.
That's really it. Like, what? Like, does she doesn't interact with anybody else, really.
Yeah. And when she does, it's like disaster. Like every time we ever see Gilly with someone else, it's like her life is in danger.
Yeah, she's about to get assaulted. Yeah,
she's about to be murdered. Oh, the poor Gilly. Listen, Gilly, I mean, she's lovely, but she does it like, she's just lovely. She's a lovely person.
Beautiful gowns.
Beautiful gown. Really, Ghost is the MVP. Otherwise, Gilly would be raped and possibly dead right now, and Samwell would for sure be dead. So,
I mean,
Ghost. Really.
I mean, because we know that Samwell's leaving to go, I guess, be a student, if you will. So, I mean, it's nice that, I guess, maybe we'll not see her.
She's going to be with him with her little baby.
Yeah. I mean, who knows when we'll see them again if Jon's dead. So.
I don't know. Well.
I mean, better. I guess it's a good thing she got out when she did, if, Jon's gone.
All right. Well, now we have a 4-way tie here.
Oh, man.
So we'll start off with the one who had the least screen time, maybe, and the most peaceful death in all of Game of Thrones, and that is Maester Aemon. R.I.P. Maester Aemon.
What a treasure.
We're glad you didn't die in the battle at the wall.
He's like the one character in Game of Thrones that died peacefully.
I mentioned this, I think, to Tyler, but I'm sad that they didn't have him give his speech about Daenerys as he died, like he does in the books, where he's like, oh, and he's like asking Samwell to find Daenerys because he believes she is the prince that was promised. Instead, he just yells egg. Oh, egg. But he was great. He was a great character.
He's a nice character. One of the few nice people of the Night's Watch. Didn't really contribute all that much, but he's nice.
R.I.P. to Peter Vaughn, the actor, as well. Like I said, one of the few characters who actually got a peaceful death, just passed away of old age.
I think he's like the only one. I'm trying to remember everyone that's that's died. I'm pretty I don't think anybody else has died like normally, if you will. Yeah. So, everybody's death. Most of the people's deaths in the show are horrific.
I mean, I'll take this over Marin Trant's death any day. I'll take
Marin
Maester Aemon.
Trant, Stannis's kid.
Oh well, yeah, I'll take this over Shireen's death for sure.
The people that got that guy that got torn in half by the dragon.
Yeah.
There's a lot of deaths in this show that are not very friendly, you know.
About the Targaryen, about Maester Aemon's death. I'll let L'Oreal answer that as we talk quickly about Miss Myrcella Baratheon, also tied for this 23 position. Another pretty wholesome character that got unjustly killed this season.
Yeah, she was just kind of a product of revenge. She kind of just got the short end of the stick there.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that was kind of their mission all season long for the Sand Snakes and Ilaria, but I mean, Ilaria made it seem like she understood when she was talking to Jaime, yeah, I know she didn't have anything to do with it. And then the next episode, she kills her.
Yeah, it's a bit of a pivot there.
Yeah, I mean, she was a sweet girl. I liked that moment with her and Jaime. I'm glad they got that moment.
Yeah, just what followed wasn't all that great. It's yeah, she was a nice character, nice person, probably the nicest out of all of the Baratheon Lannister folk.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe her and Tommen, but he just is so damn annoying at this point that
Tommen is just incompetent.
I mean, he's nice, I guess, but listen, there's a limit to the niceness, Tommen.
Poor Ilaria, not poor Ilaria, poor Myrcella, because of Ilaria. Ilaria had to go and give her the kiss of death.
Yeah, so L'Oreal, basically, the whole storyline with Jon, Samwell, Maester Aemon, and Gilly is very different in the books for this season. Jon actually makes quite a very morally great decision to swap Gilly's baby with somebody else's baby in the books. And forces Samwell to leave to go to the Citadel. Samwell doesn't want to be a maester in the books. He doesn't want to leave, and Jon forces him to. And they send Maester Aemon with him. Part of it is theorizing that Maester Aemon dies because of this journey, because he's very elderly. It's a hard journey, and the cold kind of has a preservation. Sending him to the warmer climate, it's hard on his body, and he dies.
He thawed out and died.
Yeah, a little bit. So they overhear at one of the what is it? Docks. At one of the docks, somebody comes from Essos and is talking about dragons and talking about the Dragon Queen and how she has 3 dragons. And Maester Aemon hears and knows, and so he just has kind of this moment where he was saying that they thought it was someone else, but he believes that they were wrong in the prophecies for the prince that was promised, who we know in the show, Melisandre thought that Stannis was the prince that was promised. And he thought it was Daenerys Targaryen, his obviously niece, and tell Samwell, promise me you'll go to her, promise me you'll talk to her, you'll tell her, you'll teach her and help her. And I mean, Samwell says yes to that, and he dies. So that's basically what happens there. I thought it was a much more interesting way to go, of have him say all that and acknowledge Daenerys rather than just yelling egg for his final episode.
Egg.
But yeah.
There's a whole Dunkin' Egg show coming, apparently.
Oh my god! Look at
supposedly.
This. I watched a reactor the other day that thought that Jaime and Myrcella were going to have a Cersei and Jaime moment. No.
Oh god!
Listen, that's too much.
I think I would have turned it off.
Yeah. Who's at the bottom, Ramsay or Ollie? Ramsay.
Hey.
Ramsay was at the bottom. Ollie was close, though.
It was close. Yeah, Ollie's definitely down there.
Wow. So John's agreed. Thank you for explaining. He just is more morally gray in the books than he was in the show. They sanitize Jon Snow a lot in the show, as do they with Tyrion. They sanitize him quite a bit too. But all right, so moving along in this tie, we had Myrcella. Also tied with her is Ilaria. Yes, we have them in the same place. I don't know if that's blasphemy, but sorry about it. Ilaria had some of the best one-liners of the season.
Well, I like the. I also think partially it's because we've had previous,
Yeah.
and we have much more previous interactions with Ilaria, so we kind of have a better, I guess, idea of her as a character.
Yeah, it just I understand her idea of revenge is misguided, obviously. I mean, Oberyn volunteered to be in there. Marcella shouldn't have died because of that.
Yeah, I think that is a bit unfair. It's like what one for
Uh,
me, one for you, eye for an eye,
but
kind of in a way.
she's an interesting character. I think she's a fun character. Like at least, unlike the Sand Snakes, when we cut to her, at least you're not like dreading Ilaria's scenes. Like the Sand Snakes, you're like, oh god,
Pretty
the
much.
hell are they gonna say now?
Yeah.
But her, I mean, she calls that spineless line. Ooh, I mean, that was one of the best burns of the whole season.
I did enjoy that.
She roasted that priest like nobody's business.
Yeah, she's a much more interesting character than Gilly, to answer Leo.
But we'll see with Ilaria. I like that she stuck to her guns. Yes, it ended up killing an innocent person who had nothing to do with her revenge, but it would have really sucked if they had her go out like actually begging for her life to Prince Duran.
Yeah, that was a bit of a bummer after all of her master planning, and she's just like begging for her life, basically. I like the actress too. She's gonna be in the She's gonna be in the Obi-Wan show, so I'm excited.
She looks good too. Yeah,
that too.
She looked good. But I liked her longer hair. I think a little bit better than the short hair for Valaria, but she's looking good.
One of the better parts of Dorne, I guess. Yes, although that's not saying much because Dorne was a huge disappointment.
And then we have Leo's favorite character, tied for 23, the man of many faces himself, Mr. Jaqen H'ghar.
Oh yeah, the guy who speaks in riddles or whatever.
Confusing the people.
That's what Leo would say. You know, translator. That's what he needs, a translator for Leo.
Yeah, I mean, Oberyn ruined Dorne. If Oberyn hadn't been so damn awesome, we would have been so hyped for Dorne.
Yeah, he did hype up Dorne a lot when he was talking about how great it was with everybody.
And it looked pretty. I'll give him that. It was gorgeous. It was pretty to look at. But oof.
Yeah.
Oh, but Jaqen H'ghar.
Very interesting person.
Really? I mean, his power set got real confusing in that final episode.
You mean like how there was like 1,000 Scooby-Doo mask reveals, and then it was like he was in front of her, then he was behind her, then it was like the next thing you know, Arya's blind.
Yeah, no. Emma, I know I saw that, and I did reactions. I don't know, did you see I did reactions to Legend of Vox Machina as well, if you want to check that out, Miss Emma. But somebody clued me in because I kept saying one of the women reminded me of Daenerys. And they were like, oh, she's voiced by the Ilaria Sand actress. So
I guess if you're just a fantasy actor, you just got to stick with fantasy.
I'm surprised Roose Bolton's probably going to voice an actor soon.
Hey, I mean, we've seen it so many times already. Like, if you're in Game of Thrones, you got to be in some sort of fantasy, whether it be these ones or Star Wars or Marvel or DC.
Yeah, she's heading on. But Jaqen, I wish there was. So Arya's storyline in season 5 is also. You're like building all season for it to like. I mean it. It ends appropriately wild, but yeah. I don't know. I guess I wish we would have seen more proactiveness with Jaqen, like see him do more. He's definitely a mentor. He's there. He's giving the riddles.
Yeah, a lot
he's helping her, but especially after season 2, because he was just so cool, mysterious in season 2.
He gave her like those 3 wishes almost in a sense. Like, I'll kill 3 people.
So I don't know, but he's all right. He's fine.
Yeah, that whole last scene is. I'm still kind of intrigued to see where that goes next with the whole reveals of the faces, and then, like I said, it was just so jarring because it was like, and it was Jaqen on the ground, then it wasn't. Then he was behind her, and then she went blind.
Well, then at number 22, maybe a little lower than we've had him before, is Bronn.
Oh, well, I think it was because of Dorne, probably.
Because he just sat there flirting with this woman.
I think his interactions in Dorne kind of knocked him down a little bit because like everything with Dorne was kind of not great.
Yeah, I mean, he has this. He's typically funny. He's fun. Him and Jamie are fun together, but he couldn't save what was happening.
No, I mean he spends a couple episodes basically locked up talking to the Sand Snakes.
Yeah, he just sits there talking to them. He gets punched in the face, and then he's one half of that terrible line reading. Like he's the person who it gets told to. So Braun didn't do much. I think that's kind of why he slipped down already. He
Yeah, I
didn't
mean
do much in the worst storyline of the season.
yeah, I mean I guess arguably probably the best of that Dorne storyline probably was Jamie, but like
Yeah.
that's not really saying much.
Then our next little tie, a three-way tie.
Another
We'll
one.
start with probably the more minor of the characters. Actually, one that didn't appear as much this season. We have Mr. Varys.
Mm.
Another character that just disappeared for like at
Well,
least half of the season.
well, we didn't know where. Well, he probably had no clue. He had to find out where the hell Tyrion went. Tyrion
He
went to
was
go to
searching the land.
Tyrion went to go to the bathroom, and then he just was vanished. So he finally found him eventually at the very end of the season.
I mean, I did love. Well, that's just a product of Tyrion. He just makes any little like tag team he's with interesting, and I loved him with Jorah. But I also really enjoyed him with Varys. They were fun together, so it was kind of disappointing that we couldn't just get the three of them. That they had to go
Right.
off, and Varys just popped up in the finale again to be like, "Hello, my old friend." But
He's back.
he's back. He's found his way to Meereen.
It makes me more excited for next season, though.
Yeah. So Varys, he's kind of his usual self. We just didn't get enough of him through the
I've
middle portion of the season.
I've always liked him way more than Littlefinger.
Well, then another one of Daenerys' storyline. We've got Mr. Grey Worm tied for number 19. He also disappeared for a little bit, including a big battle.
I think his was a bit more reasonable. He had to recover from his massive battle. I thought he died at first. Well, I thought he was gonna die. I thought he was gonna die with Sir Barristan. So
the saving grace on his storyline, I think, right now is just his little romance with Melisandre. He gets those cute little moments all the time with her. I always have a soft spot for them, and I like little Grey Worm, his little blind loyalty. And then finally, all right, Emma, the position you've been waiting for, tied for number 19, we have Sansa Stark. Might be interesting to have her tied with Grey Worm and Varys because she definitely has a bigger part than either of them. Okay, I'm gonna do my little rant right now.
I'll just let you do your thing, and I'll just listen.
I don't have a huge problem with Sansa in the season. I do think there are times in that castle. I know she's scared, kind of like Theon is once you get that scaredness in you, it's hard to move. There are times that she could have finagled, like at the end when Miranda had an arrow pointed at her. You can dodge, you know what I mean? You could do a little dip and a dodge on an arrow. Like there are ways she could have at least tried to take Miranda on. They're similar in size, but this mostly I just feel so bad for Sansa in season 5. Like she did not deserve what happened to her at all. And my big problem with Sansa this season is the characters. I mean, not the characters, the directors and the showrunners, D&D, and what they decided to do. It's just horrible storytelling. Sansa, her whole character arc has been a pretty passive person who has just been pushed from one abusive relationship to another. She's always put in the hands of these abusive men. And finally, in season 4, even though it's with Littlefinger, who is manipulative and more emotionally abusive, she seems to be coming into her own. She's, we called her Dark Sansa, but she's kind of trying to take control of her life. And right when we're getting to that point with her character, they throw her back in an abusive relationship where she has no control over anything happening in her life. I don't understand. It's such bad storytelling. It's such a bad character moment for her.
It has been very one note how that's kind of been her, I guess, arc the last several seasons. It's just bouncing from all over the place.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just yeah. I just am I get so frustrated when I think of that. I'm glad. Hopefully, she's not dead in the snow.
I think that even despite all of the terribleness you listed, I think she has become a bit of a better character all around.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of despite all of the terrible things that she's had to endure. So I
Yeah.
mean, that's probably why she's a little bit higher than last couple seasons, especially. Because I mean, I do also feel bad for her, like you mentioned, and it just continues to pile on how terrible things get for her. I think we've hit the apex of terrible in this season for her so far.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is we were finally getting to her being like this more politically savvy person. She's, learned from Cersei, she's learned from Littlefinger at this point. Even if maybe she didn't fight, if they were going to put her over there, first of all, they didn't need to show us her getting raped. I don't think. But they also could have made her trying to pull moves, like trying to use some of those resources she had gained from Cersei and Littlefinger, who are both devious and both schemers. And instead, they just kind of regressed her to what she was. I do like those moments of defiance where we see personality come out from her,
Yeah.
and that's. I mean, she's just like a purely sympathetic character. I mean, how do you not feel bad for her? It's just like Jesus, let this girl live. Like, can we get her out of this bullshit?
Well, I guess that's kind of, somewhat of a, potentially, I don't know. I haven't seen the season, but hopefully something positive going forward,
Oh,
whatever her and Theon do. I mean, Ramsey's still around, I guess, technically, but I don't know where the future for their storyline goes. Hopefully it's better for Sounds as a character.
well, we know Ramsey likes a hunt, so I guess we'll see what happens when he comes back to the freaking castle. But I do think this is the highest up we've had Sansa. So even though I didn't like the story that they put her into, her as a character has definitely evolved to a point. So,
Yeah.
all right. Coming in at number 18, we have Mr. Podrick Payne.
Good old Pod.
I mean, how do you not like Podrick?
I mean, both him and Brienne kind of go hand in hand in that, like, they're both very likable characters, even if they didn't really necessarily do all that much this season.
They're another one. So they cut out, I think I told you that in the books, Lady Stark gets resurrected as Lady Stoneheart in the books.
That would have been interesting to see in the show.
And in the books, she captures Brienne because she blames Brienne for not upholding her oath and protecting her children. So
she's trying.
So she sends Brienne on like a different type of mission. So since they cut all that out, Brienne just literally had nothing to do.
She just waited for a candle to be lit in a castle.
Yeah, so Pod also just had nothing to do this season. The first half was interesting. I actually thought they had a really good first half of the season when they were coming back from the Vale.
Yeah.
They had that really awesome episode where Brienne kind of let her guard down and her and Podrick just talked like people, and he's kind of training now.
Kind of, sort of, getting some sort of training in, and also like going out and catching animals and stuff to eat. He's kind of like supplying everything while she just waits for that candle.
But yeah, Pod, we love you, but you didn't really do much of anything this season, so that's why you can't make it further. Sorry, Leo. Characters who do literally nothing, it's hard for them to get to the top 15.
It was close.
It was close. He was close. There are some who don't do a whole lot that are even higher, but listen.
It's a cumulative list for me.
All right. Well, at number 17, we have Daario Naharis. So we're back to Daenerys' storyline. I don't care. Some people just don't like, including Daenerys fans, don't like Daario. I like Daario.
He's fine. I mean,
he's not a great character. He's not the best, obviously, but he's loyal to my girl.
I think he does liven up everything in Daenerys' storyline because everybody else kind of doesn't have too much personality.
No. Yeah, like that interaction with him and Jorah and Tyrion in the final episode's a lot of fun. Him kind of roasting his star throughout the season is fun. And, he shows off his booty and gives Dany some fun.
Yeah, I guess out of all of Daenerys' love interest, he's probably the best one so far, just cumulatively, like overall. Because I mean, yeah, like Khal Drogo, Jason Momoa, but like not like their relationship was really like
Yeah.
set up on like great foundation.
Interesting character, not the best relationship.
Yeah. Whereas Daario, I mean, I guess you could also argue their relationship wasn't really the greatest in the way that it started. But at least it seems like they have like a mutual respect for one another to some degree, which is something that isn't really there with the Dothraki in general. Which is interesting because we saw the Dothraki come back. So
yeah. Well, tied at number 15 and 16. First up, we have not merely Mr. Sir Barristan Selmy. R.I.P. Barristan. We miss you, bruh.
I guess, yeah.
I think he gets this high because he had one of the most badass death scenes. Like that fight was awesome.
Very fun fight with him and Grey Worm and the Sons of the Harpy.
I mean, I really like this little moments with him and Daenerys throughout the season as well. Like when she would just like stop and he would just tell her about her family because her only other source has been her terrible brother in season 1 who lied to her. Yeah. So it was nice to have somebody who could tell her about her family and let her know both the good and the bad of what her past was. And he also was kind of the opposite end of Daario, whereas Daario Naharis is always like, kill him. Like we've tried.
He's always ready to fight. Yeah.
Listen, time to chop the head off of every former master up in the city. And Sir Barris is like, hold on. Wait, don't do that yet. So I don't know. He was a great presence for her council. Any other thoughts on Barristan?
R.I.P. He went out like a badass at least.
And that was another controversial thing because he's not dead in the books at all. So
his death opened up a spot for Jorah. So good. At least that's nice, I guess.
I mean, part of me is like, I wish he would have at least died in the like pit or something instead of like in the streets. But then it wouldn't have pushed her because they pushed her character to get pissed and make a rash decision that he died in the streets. But yeah. All right. Then also tied for number 15, mostly based on the strength of the first half of the season, is Marjorie Tyrell.
Yeah.
Another person who we didn't see for a good half because she was literally locked in a cell.
Once she got locked up, we only saw her once.
Yeah, I mean, it was an entertaining scene. I mean, she cussed Cersei the hell out and said, "Get up."
That's what I mean. That was a great scene, but like we saw her locked up and then never saw her again.
Yeah, so Barristan's actor, there's clips, and they actually mock this poor actor. He wrote to D&D because they were like, I guess they give a heads up to the actors. They're like, hey, you're going to die this season, just so you can prepare. And his actor wrote back because he had read all the books, and he was like, look, I think this is actually a big mistake, and here's why. I don't think you should kill off the character Barristan Selmy. And then they thought it was funny, and we're like, oh, now we really got to kill him.
Well, like, that's not very nice.
Dumb, but yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting though. To change that, have a character that didn't die in the books to just kill them off in season 5.
He's still right next to Daenerys' side.
Well, I mean, I know the books aren't really done necessarily, so I guess you could kill him off in one of the books that have not been released.
He could still die, but as of now, he is still a loyal servant to Daenerys Targaryen. But yeah, Marjorie. I love that scene where she calls her a hateful bitch and tells her to get out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Tyrells in general, I quite enjoy.
But I love the early part of the season where we really get to see her playing with Cersei. When she is scheming, when she is just twirling Tommen around her finger and getting under Cersei's skin.
Yeah, and then it ended up screwing everybody over because she brought in the sparrows. So
I mean, yes, Marjorie getting under Cersei's skin made that woman lose her damn mind and got them all thrown into jail.
Everybody, yeah.
But before Cersei just went batshit crazy, Marjorie was playing pretty well. She was definitely taking control away from Cersei. Put her on that hot seat.
Yeah, it was good. But yeah, like you said, first half of the season was pretty strong. That's why she got up so high. Plus, I mean, cumulatively, the prior season she was pretty good too.
I do love that one like brunch scene where Cersei finds them and she just like egg Cersei on. She's like, "Oh, I'm so tired. It was a long night with your son." And no, we don't have any wine, darling. It's a little early for us, but we can fetch you some. Like, it's like, oh, girl. That's why your ass
Poor
got targeted quick.
Cersei and Marjorie. That seems to be one of the big fights, I guess, of the last couple seasons.
Well, then, tied for number 13, we have Miss Sunday.
Yeah.
Listen, y'all, that's another character. I know she's really minor. A lot of times she doesn't do too much. I just love her.
I guess it's kind of in the same vein as Grey Worm. A lot of the same positives. I mean, they're kind of connected.
She's like and Grey Worm, and he's just a warrior, so he fights more. But she's one of the most pure characters in this entire show too. Like, she just is a genuinely good person.
She's a good ally for Daenerys, at least so far.
Yeah, she's level-headed. She's very committed, obviously, once again, to Daenerys, and this little cute, like, budding love story. Also, some of those times with her and Daenerys are some of the more times we get to see Daenerys kind of let her guard down, because so often now, you know, she's surrounded by these enemies, so she's really queenly and, like, trying to be hard. So it's nice to have Missandei be there to kind of have more levity with Daenerys. And I love Natalie Emmanuel. Like, let's just be real.
Yeah, but, of Fast and Furious fame.
I love her so. And then tied with Missandei for number 13 is Samwell Tarly. Oh, he's getting close to that top 10.
Well, he left the show, so
this might be the swan song for Sam.
Yeah, he's in like everything else now. You know, we see him in like Moonfall and Marry Me, the actor.
Lord,
so
yes,
his schedule opened up. Maybe we won't see him again.
Yeah, Samwell. I mean, again, he's just a great person. He's just a good person.
One of the few, yeah.
Yeah, one of the few. Very loyal to Jon and Gilly both.
And the little baby.
And that little baby. Yeah, I don't. Other than, I guess, his shining moment with Gilly.
Yeah,
that was kind of his highlight of the whole season.
Yeah, he lived it up then. Yeah.
But he also was like really nice to watch him take care of Maester Aemon and he's just a good person. Whenever he's on screen, he's a good person. So
yeah, and like you said, I liked his interactions with Jon. It was one of the, I guess, few bright spots of the Night's Watch stuff between all of the death and torture and torment was those moments where Jon and Samwell would just chat. You know, I enjoyed those.
Yeah, he's fine. Marry Me, his role is just kind of there, to be honest. He's fun. And he's fun enough in there too. So
I didn't see Moonfall.
Moonfall is he's okay. He's better than expected in Moonfall, I guess.
To be fair, based on the box office, I don't think very many people saw Moonfall. So it's okay.
Yes, he read it all in a book and heard a little bit of it from Jon after Egret, so you know. All right, at number 12 is Shireen Baratheon. R.I.P. Shireen.
Yeah.
So I think she's this high
because I'm upset.
Because I mean, one of the worst deaths of this entire show.
It's up there. As far, well, I guess I should say worst deaths of a character I liked.
Yeah, I mean, how she died is horrific. The circumstances leading up to it were horrific. And probably the straight up most pure character in this entire show. She's just a sweet girl.
Yeah, I loved her scenes with Davos over the seasons.
And even her scenes with Stannis were like, up until the end, were some of Stannis's most human moments. Like,
very rarely
bring out some humanity under that like really cold veneer. She taught Gilly to read. She taught Stannis to read.
Yeah, she was helping everybody read pretty much.
Yeah, and of course, her final episode, she had a lot of really sweet moments just to like get you extra upset when she died.
Well, yeah, she was all willing to help her dad no matter what it took, and I don't think that's what she meant.
And that little actress, I mean, she makes me angry that she was so damn good at that horrifying scream.
Yeah.
It was a really good acting job from her. But R.I.P. Shireen. It was, oh god, what a horrible way to usher in episode 9 of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I guess she's probably one of my favorite Baratheons, if you will.
Yeah, I was like, most of the Baratheons are pretty terrible. So ugh.
I guess Gendry's still around somewhere.
Somewhere.
He's floating somewhere.
He's floating in the ocean somewhere.
Yeah, I guess.
All right. Well, just outside of the top 10, coming in at number 11. Are you ready, Leo? It's Miss Cersei Lannister.
I don't know if you're saying that to prepare him because he's going to be happy or angry.
I mean, he knew she was going to be high. He called it earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, Cersei, say what we will. She is very entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not find her entertaining as like a villainous character, you know?
Yeah, and she's an entertaining kind of villain. She does horrible things that make you very angry, but she never goes Joffrey or Ramsay level total. At least to this point, she has never gone that far. Now, we saw the look in her eyes in episode 10, so I don't know, but
I imagine there's going to be a lot of revenge on the horizon now that she's back.
Yeah, I mean, she's scheming all season. Her little battles with people are always hilarious, whether it be Marjorie or Olenna and their little stuff, or
that random woman from the High Sparrows, where she was like, "Confess."
God damn. Yes, shame.
Confess.
I mean, it's something when somebody who you are always kind of like rooting for her downfall, because as entertaining as she is making stupid, ridiculous moves, and you're like, girl, you need to get your comeuppance already.
We love a good villain, so.
And then she does, and you feel bad. I was like, oh, I didn't know this was possible. Am I feeling bad for Cersei?
I don't think I ever felt bad for her necessarily, but it was entertaining to watch unfold. The karma, if you will.
Oh, I mean, these people, they were mad at Cersei. I was like, girl, these are the people you've been trying to starve out in the streets throughout the seasons. These little
they've never liked them. Like,
they tried to kill her ass in season 2.
Yeah, they've never liked her. So they saw the opportunity when she was walking through the streets being shamed to do everything possible they could to her, throw in bodily fluids and trying to like assault her and like throw in food and drinks. And
yeah, no, they were mad at Cersei Lannister. Yeah, shame. Also,
shame.
Her and good old Hannah giving us one of the iconic memes of Game of Thrones.
Hannah Waddingham, number 1 character of season 5, unofficially. Shame.
Yes. So we love you, Cersei. Thanks for keeping King's Landing interesting, because your son surely does not. So we desperately need your presence in King's Landing.
But I mean, that's what makes me kind of excited for next season, because she's gonna probably just demolish everyone now that she's back. You know,
the rage.
Well, now that she cleans herself up, you know that she's got the mountain there to carry her everywhere.
Little short view.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Hopefully
the way they gave her
it evened out a little bit cleaned up, because they did not care.
I was a bit bummed out that she got the new short do though, because I liked the long-haired Cersei. That's just like a minor thing.
All right, so breaking into the top 10, we have Mr. Tormund Giantsbane.
Oh man,
I mean, he was great this season.
I think he's just a very entertaining character in general. Like the guy who plays him, just the character himself. Probably, I guess, the most likable wildling of the bunch.
The turnip. He was like the MVP of Hardhome, because Jon wasn't the brightest character. If it wasn't for Tormund, they probably would never have gotten any of them wildlings out of there and maybe got killed. So thank you, Tormund. Thank you.
And the methods he used to convince everybody. He's like, I'm just gonna bash this guy with his bones all over him.
Yeah, he's funny, he's fun, he's not
very
smart,
charismatic.
but he's a little bit savvy. You know, he knows how to get the job done, no
Yeah,
matter
I'm
what.
thinking back. I'm thinking back now to that scene because he was the reason that John didn't get immediately jumped in that tent because John was talking about, oh yeah, I killed him, and
I killed Mans, no biggie. I got Carrion Hines, I got his ass roasted. What?
yeah, yeah, you need to give context, John. They need to know the context.
No,
It was a mercy killing, not that you did it.
But yeah, Tormund the MVP, and then that woman was like, "Okay, if Tormund believes it, I'll believe it too, and go with him." So,
oh, you're not talking about that woman who just like let herself get murdered by the yeah, she sucked. She should be at the bottom too. Whatever her name is, she's in the bottom 10 at least.
Oh,
for just going like this and accepting her death.
All right, well, with our final tie, and it's a pretty fitting tie to conclude the ties at number 8 and 9. First up, we have Brianna of Tarth.
Yay.
Yay. Sorry, Emma. We love Brienne around here. I don't hold a grudge that she had to kill the hound. It is what it is, girl.
It is what it is.
Again, the first half of the season was great with her. She let her guard down. We heard that story about why she was so devoted to Renly, made us like Renly more again.
Yeah.
And then she comes back. She's watching that damn tower all season.
The whole half of the last half of the season is just
watching the tower and then leaves.
The moment it finally goes on, yeah, the final moment that finally lights, she turns away. Doesn't see it.
It was worth it because her arc has finally basically come full circle and she gets revenge for Renly. I
do love the fact that she kind of just casually just finds Stannis laying up against a tree.
Like, hey, you.
I know, but
reason I really know you is because that damn demon had your face.
I guess that's what makes it so interesting in that context because, like, you would think in most media, especially if it was made now, they would have them fight to the death. It'd be a fight with Stannis fighting, and then Brienne, she just sees Stannis wounded up against a tree. I was like, oh well, this is my opportunity.
Execution time to pay for your sins, Stannis.
I'm glad though that she had that moment though. If anyone was gonna kill Stannis, I'm glad it was her. She was the one that kind of deserved it most of all. I think as far as killing him goes. Yeah, it would have been.
It was better her than like random soldier or even Ramsay.
I would have felt cheated if Ramsay or someone else killed him.
No,
but it was a good moment. She got her comeuppance, her revenge for Renly especially.
Yes, and finally, because Brienne, she's been trying so damn hard to keep her oath to Catelyn, and they just won't listen. Like she's been trying, and those daughters just be like, "Nah, girl, we don't want you," and run away. So it's nice for her to keep her own oath to herself and Renly.
Yeah, she's been great. Gwendolyn Christie. It's funny because watching it, I guess, in reverse order. I guess it's made me like Captain Phasma even less because it's like, wow, Gwendolyn Christie is like fantastic in this show, and then Captain Phasma is just lame, like and completely wasted.
Her physicality, all of it. We were all. That's why everyone was so hyped going into Force Awakens. That's like nothing.
Literally nothing. She's like putting a trash compactor in the 7th one, and then like she gets beaten up by Finn, and then I assume presumably is dead. I mean, I know I say it every time. There's no way Phasma survived that because she fell down that whole shaft in the ship. And then the ship blew up. I'm pretty sure. So I don't think she can come back. I mean, I never say never. We've seen many Star Wars characters return from worse. So
I don't know, Emma. I'm gonna contend the first half. The Hound was a stubborn guy. He saw that Lannister armor, and I don't know that he was gonna believe Brienne, as she explained. I will say though, I do wish we could have got Arya, the Hound, Brienne, and Pod as a little group on the road. That would have been amazing. So
I was really hoping that Arya was going to get with Brienne. I feel like that's like a great matchup.
Honestly, it probably would have been more. One, they would have had more screen time if Arya was with them, but it probably would have been more entertaining than her with Jock.
Faces thing. Her faces thing.
Yeah, which is, it goes up and down. It has its peaks and then it goes back down. But we'll talk about that when we get to Arya because she's still around. And then tied with Brienne at number 8 is Jaime Lannister. Who would have thought after season 1, Jaime would be number 8?
Well, I mean, according to some people in the comment section,
he should have been number 1 from the beginning.
Well, apparently it was wrong of me to talk about how terrible Jaime was in season 1 to some people in the comment section.
But Jaime, I mean, this season was just a good season for Jaime. He's good.
Yeah.
He was the best part of his storyline by far.
Yeah, I mean, like that's just the Dorne stuff was rough, but he was, like I said before, he was the best part of it probably. You know, he's trying to get his daughter/niece back, whatever term you want to use.
Yeah.
And you know, he has that sweet moment with her at least before she's killed. So I guess there's that.
That was like
I still laugh thinking about that scene where he and Bronn walk up to her or his daughter and Trystane just gets laid out.
Trystane, Lord. Yeah, Jaime. The only thing, like, I think season 3 is his best season still to date.
Yeah.
But season 4, he was good, except for that moment he rapes his sister. He still has one really bad moment in season 4. And then season 5, he doesn't have any real bad moments. He feels much lighter as a character in season 5.
Yeah, I think the Dorne setting and being stuck with Bronn probably helped out his character and his personality this season. It was fun seeing them like try and be undercover to get into Dorne at first.
Yeah.
And then fail miserably.
And he and Bronn are fun together as well. Maybe not quite as fun as Tyrion and Bronn, but he and Bronn have their fun moments too.
Yeah, I do worry though for Jaime if he's gonna come back with his daughter dead on that boat, and he's gonna come back and be like, "What the hell happened while I was gone?"
Very angry Cersei too. Cersei's
that too,
in a good mood.
But I'm just saying, like, think of everything that happened while he was gone, like the sparrows. Tommen's just locked up somewhere. Marjorie's locked up. Loras is locked up. Like I said, the sparrows took over. Cersei has been like taken through the streets and shamed. It's like a lot has happened since he left.
Yeah, King's Landing is a hot ass mess right now, and here he comes back to it. So,
and then he's gonna add on like, "Oh yeah, hey, I'm back. Also, our daughter's dead." So.
All right. Well, at number 7, the OG simp. Jorah Mormont, all the way up at number 7. I mean, he was just the whole season trying to get back to his queen.
It was admirable, his level of dedication to try and come back. I mean, it was funny because the first time we saw him, he was in that brothel with those Daenerys cosplayers, prostitute people.
Kidnaps little Tyrion.
That was funny. Yeah,
has Tyrion up in chains.
Yeah, and then even after that, he willingly sells himself into fighting slavery to get in front of Daenerys.
Yes. And doesn't take that rejection. She tells him to get the hell out again, and he said, "Let me try one more time."
Third time's a charm.
And it was. He made his way back into her favor until she said peace.
Flew out of there.
Flew away. So, yeah, I mean...
I still think for a split second there in that fight, I really thought that he threw that spear at her because he finally had enough.
I mean, that would have been an interesting character development for Jorah. I wouldn't have blamed him necessarily. Oh, Lord. He was... that blonde little prostitute in the brothel. I don't know how long Jorah been there, but he was yelling
couple times.
Coins, Emma. He was yelling.
I guarantee he got with her at least a couple of times with that Daenerys cosplayer prostitute.
But I don't know. I just like loyal Jorah. Yes, he did start off under lying terms with Daenerys, and I think she was right to be angry when she found out, but I'm glad that finally here we are. We're back. She has her most loyal subject back in her core.
Are we just ignoring the whole like Stone Man thing? Because because that
I mean,
was
that's
they
the
made such a
dumb
big
decision
deal.
of Jorah is he's concealing an illness that is contagious, and he's sitting here trying to grab Daenerys and say, oh, homie, you could give her the damn disease.
Stone Man thing,
like,
whatever.
what's going on here, Jorah? Tyrion doesn't know. He'd be around Tyrion this whole time.
Well, it sounded a bit more severe when it initially happened, and then he just kind of like fought like a bajillion people, and then helped out Daenerys, and it's like I guess this is just not as big of a deal as they acted like it was, because that was like the whole end of the episode was like the shocking reveal when he pulls up his sleeve and he has a little stone man like thingy because he got grabbed, and it's like, oh well, we're not talking about it at all anymore. So
I mean, I guess it's up his arm. So if his shirt is down, as long as you don't like touch the stone, you're okay for now. But we'll see
I thought
how
they
fast it spreads.
Well, I mean, with the way that they made a big deal about it, because Tyrion almost got like pulled underwater and all that stuff. They're like, "Did he touch you? Was it a big? Did they touch you? Because it was such a big deal."
And then Jorah's like, "Just kidding, he touched me, but I'm not going to tell you that."
I need to get back to Daenerys. We'll just deal with that when we get there.
Well, then coming in at number 6, just barely outside our top 5, is Sir Davos Seaworth.
Love me some Davos.
How could you not? Again, other than Shireen herself, the shining light of Stannis' storyline.
Well, I mean, he was like full on anti Stannis and Melisandre for a bit there. He got thrown in the clink.
Well, yeah, he'd been anti Melisandre since the moment he saw her ass. Well, he had to witness the baby being born.
I mean, if I had to see that, of course I would be anti Melisandre. He was the one who witnessed the weird possession birth thing.
Yeah, I mean, me too. But he's great.
Poor guy was traumatized ever since.
He's like the MVP for like Stannis was following Melisandre, but he literally owed everything to Davos.
Well, he was helping him when he was trying to get money.
Everything. He had the best advice. Stannis just refused to listen. If Stannis had just listened, he and his family would still be alive. Could come back and fight another day.
Yeah, I loved his scenes with Shireen, even if it ended horribly for Shireen. So I felt broken with him when he kind of like found out everything just from the questions he asked Melisandre and all them. She didn't say anything really, but just you knew what she meant by just standing there and with her facial expression.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they've already had a rocky relationship. Now they're both in Winterfell together, so I guess we'll see what that Davos Melisandre storyline might be like. I
don't know how I feel about that.
He even had great scenes with Jon too, so we'll see what happens there. I don't know, like he didn't have a real connection with Jon, but
no,
I don't know.
We'll see. Stannis didn't really either, to be fair.
We'll see what Sir Alicer does with them, I guess. I don't know. It's about to be a hot ass mess up there in the wall too.
I hope so. I mean, I kind of, at the same time, I'm kind of glad Samwell got out of there, but also at the same time, I wonder what his reaction will be if he ever finds out that Jon dies.
Lord.
Because sometimes news doesn't travel that fast in Game of Thrones.
All right. Well, at number 5, she may have only been in 2 episodes, but she is a damn queen, y'all. It's Miss Olenna Tyrell.
Yeah, she's great still.
Like Tyler said, this is also cumulative. And we just have loved Olenna since the moment she popped up on that screen in season 3. And honestly, Olenna's one of those type of characters where you're like, the show would only improve if she was in it more. Like, if she just was around more, it would even be better, because she literally like livens up every single scene she's ever in.
Pretty much. I mean, her minutes of screen time that she did have was very, all of it, I would say, is pretty memorable.
Oh. Yeah, she had. She just roasted Cersei once again. Like, she just went in and roasted
Cersei, and I loved her. I loved her conversation with Littlefinger even more.
Oh, it was so good. She had a good sparring match and an interesting look at the ideals between her and High Sparrow. I love their conversation. See, like, though, that's what the other thing you get with Olenna is, since she is one of the smartest characters in this entire show, she's usually put in positions where she gets to have some of the best conversations out of anybody in the entire show.
Yeah.
Like her moments every time she was with Tywin were amazing. When she was with Varys were amazing. Like she just has like amazing moments constantly.
Pretty much. I mean, I can't argue that.
Funny stuff, like when she opens the window, it's like, whoo, God. That's yeah, she's great. I know. R.I.P. Dame Diana Rigg, we love you, girl.
I mean, she went out with the bang. You know, she was great in Last Night in Soho.
Yes, she was amazing in that. So
I mean, even especially with like the twist at the end, you know,
yes.
that made it even more, I guess, satisfying. What a way to go out. You know, that's your final role.
And I just, yeah, who doesn't love a sassy older lady who owns everyone? So, Olenna, I'll be interested to see what you do, girl. What you gonna do about your grandchildren being locked up still? Now that Cersei's back out, what kind of moves you trying to make to get them grandchildren out?
I know. Yeah, it makes you wonder. Well, she was talking about like pulling funding and all that stuff before.
She said, maybe I can just cut off all the food supply and make sure they know it's you while they're starving. How about that, High Sparrow?
It's like art imitating life.
And he said, well, how about we just run all the poor people about to take over, girl? We taking you rich folks down, Olenna.
Oh no.
All right. Well, we're to the top 4. These are all people with their own storylines now, so they're not the minor characters in other people's. But at number 4, we do have Arya Stark.
Woo.
How'd you feel about Arya this season, Tyler?
I still think that she had a good arc overall. It was definitely a weird one at times with her trying to learn the whole faces thing, whatever you want to call it, learning how to, you know, take faces on and put faces on. It didn't start out great when she got there and kind of like had to like work her way into it, you know, like scrubbing dead people and all that other stuff. But eventually it did get a lot better. And then she got to like go out and do missions and all that stuff. I wouldn't say it's probably my favorite arcs so far of Arya's character. You know, I think I still probably prefer all of her stuff with the Hound, just because I think her stuff with the Hound, like interaction wise, I think she had a much better rapport and much better, you know, conversations and scenes in general between her and the Hound compared to, you know, she kind of mostly this season played off of Jaqen H'ghar, who in Jaqen H'ghar, or her. They're not particularly as enthusiastic characters you can really get behind. Hell, I mean, even Leo's like, well, I could barely understand, you know, Jaqen H'ghar's even speaking about half the time.
Even when she was with Tywin, like she even had a better rapport, like back and forth with Tywin.
That's what I'm saying. Like she's always been great with other characters, but like I think this is probably the weakest she's been with other characters. But I still think it was still a strong season for her. Just where we go with her learning these abilities and how she's probably going to use them to take more people off of her list. So that was a very satisfying scene, having her, you know, do all that stuff. Although arguably, I don't know if the consequences were worth the reward.
He snatched that fight quick. I'm glad he didn't kill her. Because it looked a little bit like he's about to be like, here's the poison, girl. You gotta die now.
But I mean, Arya in general is still a good character. One of my favorite characters. I mean, I think it was probably a step down because she's been higher. I mean, there's not too much higher you can really go in the top 5.
Top 3, like main staple for most of it. So
she was still good. It's just not my favorite among the first 5 seasons for Arya's arc. I mean, I would say maybe season 1. I'm trying to think back to season 1. Maybe was the least favorite, but I mean, she didn't really have a whole lot to do in season 1. She was still kind of doing like, you know, she was still being like a kid, learning how to like fence and all that stuff.
I think the best part for her is just kind of like trying to balance and not losing herself. Like, yes, we all want her to become a faceless man and learn these powers, but not at the expense of her identity. It's like, So it makes it like kind of weird because you're like rooting for her to become a faceless man, but you're also like, oh no, I still want you to be Arya Stark though. Seeing her kind of, I guess, juggle that a little bit is interesting, but she got her not her first kill, but her most brutal kill to date. So
she's still got a couple people on that list.
She's still, including Cersei, she's still on the list.
Cersei, a couple other ones.
The mountain is alive and is still there too.
I think was it Walder Frey is another one
Walder
that's on the
Frey is
list
on
too.
the list. So yeah,
That crazy guy.
She's still got some folks on that list, but I think this is the first one she specifically has taken out. Like the other ones have died, like Joffrey and them. Like I think she says it, like, they've taken other people from me, but I'm glad I get you. Like, oh girl.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the most violently brutal, bloody moments of Game of Thrones that like shook me just because of how gruesome it was visually to watch.
Yeah. Leo been wanting to buy them cockles from Arya. He was wanting some clamfish now. What's going on, Leo? Well, coming in at number 3, our highest ranked dead character
well
is Jon Snow. Hey Hannah. Woo-woo, you got your Mountain Dew over in the cheese land, Hannah? Come on now.
Yeah, chug that Mountain Dew, Larry.
Lord, well, Jon, probably his best season to date, and then he dies. One of his most proactive seasons to date. He gets to be Lord Commander. He's like, you cheer him on, the little underdog, getting to be Lord Commander. He's making controversial decisions, but decisions that will save a lot of people, obviously, and the right decision for the greater good of humanity. And it gets him killed.
Well, nice people generally don't like to live in Game of Thrones. So
how'd you feel about Jon season 5?
I did think he had a great character arc in season 5, just because he has assumed a lot of that leadership. He has a bit more responsibilities. He's trying to be a good leader at the expense of, I guess, of everyone around him not being the greatest. So, as we saw at the end of the season, it didn't really work out for him because he tried to do the right thing, and they said, "No, we're going to kill you. We'd rather not you be the leader." But he's still, I mean, Jon Snow is a very mixed character, gray character, if you will.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of just like we talked about before, where he just straight up just chopped off Janice Slent's head. Like that was the moment that was pretty jarring to me. It kind of felt like the start of his character shift in season 5, him cutting off Janice Slent's head, and like now he means business. He's gonna actually do, he's more proactive, trying to be a leader, a good leader, because they don't really have great leadership in the Night's Watch. Not that the people there are great people in general, anyways. I give him credit for trying his best to be a great leader, and also try and set up for the Night King. Winter's coming. He's trying to help out everyone and be like, listen, the Night King is coming. He can raise up an army of the dead. We kind of need to work together, squash our beefs. Otherwise, we're all going to die. And it seems like that was very difficult for people to understand.
Nobody listening to Jon.
No, even in the end, he still ends up getting murdered for it, which was really sucky. Yeah, but I still think he was a good character overall. I mean, he was enjoyable.
He definitely reflected his father, where he's noble, he's doing the right thing, he's being a good leader, but he doesn't play the game. And that ultimately kind of falls to his downfall. He's just bulldozing ahead with his plan, regardless of trying to really win people. And ultimately, it made them turn on him and kill him.
It's kind of growing pains with being a leader. I mean, you've seen it with other characters too, like how it was kind of Robb Stark's downfall as well, because he did stupid stuff while he was trying to become a leader and then ended up getting him murdered. I guess in the same vein as his brother, that's kind of what he did too. But because he's just a very green leader, not really knowing. Well, there's no textbook to be a great leader. He doesn't really have anyone around him, arguably, to steer him in the clear direction that's good, because everybody wants him to fail. Or it's Stannis, Davos, Alicer, everybody around him aren't particularly fond of him, I would say.
And Mormont died early without being able to show him the ropes, and he was the only good one up there. So.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just he's trying his best to be a leader, and I kind of commend him for trying his best, even if he's not the best, I guess, at being one. Like we saw, he almost got murdered because he didn't give context to why he killed Mance Rayder at first. And he does also arguably have some of the more fun action scenes, just superficially. I think he had some of the best action of the season, which made him more exciting to follow. I think the Hard Home episode was probably the most exciting action of the entire season.
Oh, for sure. Well,
and
then,
just intense.
Coming in at number 2 is Tyrion Lannister. So Tyrion this season is on the move. He's on his little journey with Jorah.
Poor Tyrion.
With Varys, and then ultimately he ends up with
Daenerys.
Stolen. I mean, Tyrion's always a good time, right? No matter where you put him, no matter where Tyrion goes, he's a good time.
He is the gift.
He's the gift. Me, I am the gift.
I love that line. That's probably one of my favorite Tyrion lines of the season. Like, I am the gift.
Tyrion, I mean, and he still is trying to make some moves. He's over here beating people to show he can fight, so they buy him with Jorah.
Yeah, he had his season was like literally all over the place, but in a good way.
I think that's why personally he actually was number 3 for me on my list, and that's why he averaged out to number 2 overall. Is his was a little bit all over the place, and it just was like, okay, his storyline didn't have as much focus, and I think that's why it wasn't as great as like season 2 or season 4 Tyrion is. But I mean, he's still awesome.
Yeah, I still had him at number 1. I still enjoy Tyrion no matter where he goes.
No matter what's happening, Tyrion.
No, I mean he's probably one of the best ones in the show in terms of dialogue. You know, he has some of the best lines of the entire season and series, arguably. No matter who he's with, I think he elevates every scene that he's in. You know, no matter who he's speaking to, whether it be Jorah or Daenerys or Varys, like anyone he's with, the scene automatically gets better for me.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was a bit interesting seeing him try and get into those fighting pits and do all that stuff too. Poor Tyrion was just getting abducted and taken places he didn't know, and Jorah, and it was just funny. It was also just double funny because like that's where he was going anyway. Yeah. Was to see Daenerys and them, and then he gets abducted and Jorah. Yeah, it was kind of funny in that regard where he was gonna go see Daenerys anyway, and Jorah kidnaps him while he was peeing off the wall.
He saves Melisandre's life, so we have to stand, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, Tyrion actually does get some fights in here and there. I always do think that is interesting. Peter Dinklage is the best. I can see why he's so critically acclaimed from the show.
Oh, yeah. Well, then that only leaves one character back to number 1. So we've only had 2 characters as our number 1s throughout the series, and it's these 2 that are our top 2 yet again. At number 1 for season 5, we have Daenerys Targaryen. I think this might be controversial. I actually don't know how people feel really about Daenerys' season 5 storyline. I think some people find it to be too much or whatever. I personally really like it.
She wasn't my number 1. So.
She was your number 2 though, so that's why she averaged out. She was still top 2 for us overall. But how did you feel about Daenerys this season?
I think it was overall a pretty good season. I mean, some of the, I guess kind of in the same vein as your feelings for Tyrion season being all over the place, I feel like hers was kind of all over the place. But in a not as enjoyable way, just because Tyrion is Tyrion and Daenerys is not Tyrion. But yeah, I think it was still a good season for her. She's trying her best to continue to be this leader in this town that, you know, arguably is not the greatest. You know, she's trying to like uphold these values that nobody wants, it seems like. Because I feel bad because she's trying to like be a good leader in this place that I argue would probably doesn't deserve her level of leadership, because the Sons of the Harpy are just causing mayhem everywhere, left and right. She's trying to deal with these dragons.
Yeah.
I think overall though it was a pretty good season for her, trying to build up more rapport and trying to build alliances and relationships to try and build this foundation here. And I do like that she's going to try and break the wheel, you know, as we heard her say, and try and, you know, take the throne eventually, I guess. I don't know. We're in season 5 and she hasn't interacted with anybody else.
She finally saw Tyrion. Tyrion's her first outside interaction.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like season 5, the only character she's ever been speaking to outside of this group
Her
is
crew.
Tyrion now.
Yeah.
So, and I guess Varys a little bit. Well, not yet, but I imagine. Like I don't see how they don't interact.
I think the reason I like Daenerys' story arc this season so much is because I just find her character journey really interesting. I think she has just one of the more complex character arcs of the season. She's dealing with a lot in comparison to a lot of the other characters. And we see a little bit of that with Jon Snow. Those people just acted a lot quicker, because we even kind of talk about what Jon does with the wildlings is pretty much what she did back in season 3 of freeing the slaves. It's no. This is not right. These are people. What are we doing here? And she just has been able to hold and be the queen of this area. But seeing her really try and be a good person to the point of locking up her own freaking dragons.
Bum me out. Well, Drogon's just chilling.
What that's done for her character, trying to balance how to be a good, just person in a city that is not responding, that will not be reined in by just leadership, and how you balance that with a touch of ruthless leadership.
Yeah, it's kind of hard, especially when you have dragons, because she was quick to throw that guy to the dragons down there.
Yeah, she got mad and was okay, I'll listen to Daario today then.
Yeah, then afterwards,
the devil on the shoulder today.
Afterwards, not so much.
And then afterwards being well, shit, okay, hold on. Maybe I need to chill. But even then at the pits and that whole thing of okay, maybe if I give them an inch and show them I want to uphold their traditions. But that is obviously in contrast with her actual innate beliefs of free people, and you see that instantly opened up doors to slavery on the back end. As soon as those fighting pits were reopened, slaves were being infiltrated.
Basically, yeah.
So I just think it's a messy situation, but I think it makes for an interesting arc for her, where she's not just, because she has a lot of power, she has dragons, and once you get these how big Drogon is, it would be a lot less interesting to have her character just nuke the place and go for the throne, so it's a more interesting arc for me to have her struggling and trying to be oh my gosh, what do I do with this house?
After we saw what she did with Drogon, I would like to see all of her dragons out, though. Just because,
the dragon's free.
What are their names? Rhaegal and Viserion or whatever.
Yeah, Rhaegal and Viserion.
They just need brothers. Free them. Drogon is a wild spirit. Drogon is.
He was named after Khal Drogo, and he's the wild one. He's hell no, you ain't locking me up in no damn room.
Just dropped her off somewhere random in the world and just is deal with it.
Get the hell off me, I'm tired, girl. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I don't know where we're going to go with her, because I don't know how far away she is from everything. How far away did Drogon fly her, where she's just in this random field?
Wild card damn society of folks. Who knows what the hell they gonna do? So.
Well, there's so many of them. We saw there were looked like thousands of them from as far as the horizon went in that shot. So the biggest Dothraki group I've ever seen.
I know. Well, I know some of y'all definitely don't agree in our comments, because we always see them, but that was it. Our top spot for season 5 ended up with Daenerys.
It's interesting thinking of the omissions of characters we didn't throw in that I figured would have been thrown in. 1-1, the giant guy, or you could have even threw in the dragons, especially Drogon, because Drogon appeared in a bunch of episodes. The Night King.
Yes, the Night King.
The
anime boss.
He didn't do anything necessarily. He just watched.
Gave us another GOT meme.
He watched and raised the dead and just looked. He didn't do necessarily anything, but he's the cool looking character. He's a scary character.
Little Prince Trystane. He almost made it on, but no.
Florence Pugh's brother.
Florence Pugh's brother.
In real life.
Lord.
I'm trying to think there are other characters that we could have thrown on here that we didn't.
Leo was just sad about 1-1.
Yeah.
Poor
4-1-1. That character, that chick that let herself get killed by the evil children.
Yeah.
There's a couple other ones I could probably think of. I'm trying to think of other characters.
But let us know. Did your favorite character get left off the list of 51?
1-1.
Or who do you think had the best character arc? Who was the best character, period? Whatever your criteria might be.
Oh.
If you want to rank all 51, rank all 51 down below.
What about that one? What about was it Roos's woman? The one that's pregnant? She could have been on here. I'm trying to think of other people
Walda.
that had lines. Yeah, whatever. Walda. One of the
Walda Frey. Walder, Lord.
I'm trying to think of other people that were left off that I'm thinking of that I'm glad didn't make the list.
Is that what you're gonna do, Tyler? If you have a girl?
Oh yeah, totally. Is that how that works? Just add an A.
All the kids just be naming them after Walter, whether it's women or not. Man, nothing. It don't matter.
Yeah.
But that was it. That was our ranking for all of the characters in season 5. I hope you all liked it. If you stuck it out all the way through, thank you very much. We appreciate you. Tyler, do you want to let those who are still watching know where to find you?
Well, if you search up my name on YouTube, Tyler Calvert, you'll find my channel for reviews, reactions, rankings, all that stuff over there. You can also find me over here every now and then. We're trying to react to Daredevil. It's now on Disney Plus. That's why I wore the shirt, to celebrate it's finally back to be streaming somewhere again, because it was not streaming anywhere the last couple weeks. Hopefully we'll get back to doing a Daredevil reaction or two at least before potentially Moon Knight starts up. Moon Knight starts up in a couple weeks, so that'll be fun. But yeah, so that's, I guess, as far as the gist of it goes. Hopefully we'll get more Daredevil though. That's what I'm excited for.
And if you liked the stream and if you like the reactions, hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel so that you are always up to date on all of my latest videos, including season 6. Quite the divisive season. Book fans are a little bit more tepid, but a lot of people, this is actually their favorite season of the whole show. So,
well, isn't it like the season where they stop running out of material?
Yeah, pretty much the end of season 5 is where the material is all but done. There's a couple things in season 6, but mostly it's done now. So
because George is like Elden Ring just came out, a couple other things. He's working on like 1,000 spin-off shows.
Sit at the desk, George. Sit at the desk and write, sir. We've been waiting too long.
House of the Dragon, that Duncan Egg show, a different animated show. There's like a bajillion spin-offs in the works.
But yeah, hopefully we'll be back soon with our next reaction. It shouldn't be too long, hopefully. But until then, we'll see you next time. Bye.